Okay. All right. We got something figured out, so now we're going to do this the right way. Anyways, hello. I am Strassi, and I am an advocate for CPS, against CPS, for families and children, and nobody's watching yet. That's all right.
Well, they will be.
Yep. Okay, we got one on.
4 people on mine, and I don't know what happened, so...
I've got one on mine.
Maybe I need to go take off my live.
No, you're good. All right, we got people starting to watch in. All right, I'm turning around. All right.
Okay.
We're going to wait a few minutes so we can get people...
I guess we're doing it the cheating way since we are so blonde and cannot work it. But that's okay.
Yeah.
It creates character.
Exactly. All right. We got one on so far. And...
I had like 4 on mine. Here, let me go check that out and make sure that I ended it.
Well, I can...
Because I don't know. Okay?
All right, guys, see,
I'll
people are saying hi right now. All right, hold on. She'll call right back. No. That's all right. Anyways, while we patiently wait for her to call back. Where is she? Anyways, hi. My name is Strassi, and I'm an advocate for families and for children and so on that have been wrongly taken. And all right, there she is. Answer. Right. All right. There you are.
Hi.
Hi.
I had to turn off my live video.
That's all right. I'm on 2 screens now. Woohoo! All right, we got 4 on.
Well, can they see me? Can they see me?
They can now. Can you see us?
Wow. Can the world see us?
Yes.
Hello. Peace.
We got
Hi.
Frank on, we got
Let's
Terry
spread
on, we
love.
got Shannon, we got 3 on my side. I don't know about your side. But share away. We are taking this to the next level. We've waited long enough to be patient and whatnot, so now it's time to reveal the truth. So, Amber, am I working for any... Hold on. I'm working for any of your certain particular organizations. Yes. The organization that we are now a part of is called Montana State Council on Judicial Accountability Incorporated, and that is legal and live, and so we can face on the courts, we can face them on their own level. You know, we've been waiting long enough to try to be patient and kind with them. Obviously, they don't want to be kind, and they don't want to be patient, so it's our time to go to the next level. This is Amber. She has been a victim. Her family has been a victim through the CPS, and she would like to share her story on what her family has gone through. So, take it away.
Well, I mean, if you have any questions, you can ask those too, so then I kind of know what a basis of what I need to go on. But, hi, I'm Amber. I am over the age of 18, and I have been involved with CPS as a non-offending parent. And it all started in 2016 when my children were removed from their father. So I do have an affidavit I am going off of, just because I have heart failure and it's really hard for me to remember small things, so it's all wrote down for me. So I guess we'll just start. In March of 2016, my children, I have 4 of them. At the time, one was living with my mother here in Texas. The other 3 were with their father. The 3 in question were removed in March of 2016 for child abuse, child neglect, drugs, partner family member assaults, upon many other things. He had been involved with probation and parole, ended up becoming incarcerated. And I did not find out that my kids were removed from their father for almost 2 weeks after it took place. They put my children in a foster kinship placement, which was really healthy for the kids, but also detrimental. So starting in March, from March to July of 2016, once I had found out what was going on.
You alright? What's up?
I don't know what's going on right now.
We're still live. What, they're saying something on your side?
I don't know where we're going.
Yeah,
Huh?
well, you're still live.
Okay, cool.
You're good.
Cool. So for 4 months after the children were removed, I think there's a video still playing.
Well, the one's playing is only you. I only see you on the screen. Do you guys see just her on the screen? Alright, she said it's okay. We got a response saying it's all good.
Okay. Maybe it's on my end.
Maybe, but you're fine on my end.
I'm not quite sure.
What
Not
just-
quite sure. Okay, so anyways, so I provided the CPS. I'm gonna disclose all names at this point in time just because of legalities and protecting my family. But most places I am joined with do know their names because I rarely speak about my case, and it's only to protect my family, not to hide what CPS has done. So anyways, I have provided the state with multiple parenting class awards, domestic violence award, stress and anger management, parenting classes. I mean, you name it, I provided it.
Alright.
What?
I don't know. It's be a pain in the butt.
I don't know where that is and where it's coming from, but I hear it.
I don't hear anything else. I only hear you.
You don't hear me?
I hear you. That's it.
Oh, hold on, my live must be still going.
What?
Because, like, it's playing on repeat.
What?
Okay, hold on.
Alright, we'll be right back again. She's gonna call back and see what the heck's going on. Huh. Alright, let's try this again. Alright, come on.
Okay, so I got it. It was my live video, and it just...
Okay.
It was playing on repeat. So I
Wow.
had to delete it.
Okay. I'm glad you figured that part out.
Yeah. So anyway, so back to, in this 4-month period, I had provided them with absolutely everything they needed, from urine analysis to stable home, stable employment, certificates. I mean, certificates. 8 to 10 of them of classes that I had completed within not even a year prior. Okay, so they had everything they need, as me being fully set up and ready and available for my children. And I called them every week, if not every day. And I never missed a phone call, never missed a visit, nothing with my kids. So come August 2016 to October 2016, I came to Texas, where I'm currently living, to see my youngest daughter, because we were going to integrate her back into the home and whatnot, because prior to the children being removed, I had been out of a treatment program for over a year. I had been doing real good. I never had CPS involved prior to this and whatnot. So I came to Texas to see my youngest daughter, who was with my mom, and I stayed 60 days. CPS knew I was staying 60 days. During this time, they took away all of my visits, all of my phone calls. I wasn't allowed to, send my kids nothing. CPS, when I did call, they would not make time for me. There was, genuinely a true lack of communication and parental alienation taking place. So I went back to Montana, and I went there with my youngest daughter in my possession because, she's my child. And so anyway, she came back home, and I still kept in contact with CPS through it all. Between March 2016 to March in 2017, after all of these things had taken place, and I had proved my stability, I had proved my involvement, I had called, I had did UAs, everything. The children on CPS, even though CPS removed the children, the CPS did not give my kids any services, no therapy, no supportive services, medical or anything to their foster kinship placement. It was kind of a lot of out of line. There was nothing. Come August 2016 to January 2017, again, all of my visits were taken away. My phone calls, nobody knew why. Nobody knew. Not the lawyers, not the CASA, not, the kids' attorney. Nobody knew. So then we had court. CPS worker decided to get on the stand and admit that she had been parentally alienating me from my children with no grounds to do so. That happened on December 21st, 2007. No, not December 21st. Sorry, that was a whole nother situation. December 7th, 2017. The CPS worker got under oath, admitted she had been parentally alienating me, and the department failed to explain why. Did not have a reason, just that she was doing it. She'd never reached out to any of my family for placement of the children or anything during this time. She alienated my own family, but kept the father and his family fully involved. So on December 21st now, I get a phone call, and we had court that day. I get a phone call from the CPS worker, and the CPS worker was not in court that day. And I'll never forget it because I was looking around like, the hell, you just told me we had court, yet you're not here. Well, come to find out, she went to my son's Christmas play, told my son I was going to be there, knowing we had court, and I could not make it because court was scheduled at the same time as the Christmas play. Well, later in the day, I received a phone call from the CPS worker and the school where my son was at, and my son ended up going into a suicidal outburst and talking about killing himself while at school. Now, I'm talking a third, fourth grader talking about committing suicide. So CPS calls me, and they're like, you need to get here now. So I get there faster than the CPS worker does, and because, that's my baby. And all he could do was look at me, hold me, and say, I just wanted my mom. So I get there, she rushes him to the hospital. While we're being, rushing to the hospital so he could be on suicide watch, she admits to the on-call crisis counselor that it was her fault that my son went into a suicidal outburst because she gave him false hope. And so, at the time my son was 10 years old. During this travel to the hospital, the CPS worker and my mother is my witness, and so is God. She almost caused a 4-car pileup on the off-ramp with my son in the front seat of her car. When we got to the hospital, she tried to blame my son for her almost causing an accident. So I was pretty livid about that, and of course I reported it because I'll do anything for my kids, and I'm never going to lie about any type of situation, because the situation gets my blood boiling, you guys. Sorry, so if I have to calm down.
I understand. I was with you for a lot of this shit.
Yeah. And I try to smile through it because my kids know how strong I am, but when I talk about what they did to my kids, it breaks me.
Yeah.
It breaks me because my kids should have never had to go through that.
No child does.
Okay.
Love you, honey.
So come January 2017 to March 2017, the kinship placement was not working out because of minor reasons, like reasons why the CPS wanted to put my kids into group home placements. 1, my daughter was wetting the bed. 2, my son was having issues wiping his bottom. And 3, my oldest son blocked out his emotions. That's why they wanted to put my kids in a group home a year after removal. Well, of course, I refused to allow it. Absolutely refused. It was finally decided by the department to finally do a trial home visit, or trial home placement with me. They did so in March of 2017. At the beginning, we had a very, very rough beginning with the kids because of lack of therapeutic services during their transition and the trauma that was happening in their life, and being bounced around and, you know, losing dad to incarceration, not being able to see mom, like it was a whole uproar. So when the kids got put into my home, I mean, we had to deal with so much. And again, this was due to lack of services. The assessments by the state's department determined that all of my kids had suffered from PTSD, oppositional defiance disorders, anxiety disorders, disruptive mood dysregulation disorders. We also had Stockholm Syndrome and dissociative disorders that were all diagnosed in all 3 of the children during this point in time. And even though with those diagnoses, the state still did not provide services for them at all whatsoever. And so my kids are like going through this, and so come to find out that the CPS worker in question worked at a children's behavioral group home. And she was giving them these diagnoses based on her opinion, not on a medical professional's diagnosis. So she was putting it in their head and in everybody else's head that this is what these kids have, and this is why, you know, where I want them to be, and like all this weird stuff, and it just didn't play out right. And it was very different for all of us, because I was like, these are symptoms I have never, as their mother, in their whole lives, have ever seen, ever had to deal with. Like, to me, they're normal children.
Yeah.
So, anyways, she opinionated those diagnoses, and then provided my kids with nothing. So after placement in my home, I had established the children with mental health services. I did all this, not CPS. Don't let CPS fool you. Their money that they have coming in for supportive services are not going toward the supportive services at all.
Nope.
At all.
They brainwash the kids.
So I got the kids into mental health services with the Dan Fox program, which is like an adult. The name on the billboard says adoption agency, but it's also a visitation type thing. And they come into the home once a week, and they assess the children, and they provide, healthy tidbits and whatnot on how to manage through trauma, I guess, is the best way to do it. My kids absolutely hated it. It was not beneficial at all. We also had a therapist 5 days a week.
Wow.
And 5 days a week, I was working a full-time job on top of living out at the lake. So I was traveling anywhere between 30 to 60 miles a day just to go to therapy, there and back, picking kids up from school, taking them back. And, so it was really hard because, I didn't have any help with housing, any help with transportation, any help with nothing. I did it all on my own, even though in December of 2017, the judge ordered CPS and her department to provide these things for me. They did not provide them. It is in a court order, and CPS did not provide anything to me.
I can validate that.
Yeah. So, after, taking my kids every day for 2 or 3 months, everyday therapy, it was disgusting, the therapy that the kids were going through. And it was making no dent. So my kids, they started complaining about, Mom, we're there all the time. Can we take a break? And I started to see my kids, just slowly wither away. They had no joy. They had no thrive. No nothing. They were empty. So I stopped it. Because my kids should never have to live like that. And so I stopped it. And CPS didn't like that. But me, as mommy, I know my kids better than anybody. And, this lady made it so uncomfortable for my kids to even go to school. She would show up at the kids' school, every week, and my kids were not even allowed to focus on their education. They weren't allowed to be, hanging out with their friends or nothing. I wasn't allowed to be around family or friends unless they went through background checks and all this stuff with my own kids. My kids have grown up with these people in their lives. What the hell? So a few months passed by, and 2 months passed by, shall I say, and we go to Spring Meadow Lake in Helena, Montana, which is a little tourist attraction if you're passing through town, and it's just a little watering hole. Anyways, on June 30th, 2017, the kids and I recovered a lifeless body of a 7-year-old little boy out of the lake. He had drowned, and even though the little boy did not survive, my kids looked for that little boy when his mom and dad were sitting on the sidelines. They were in the water, they were in the bushes. My oldest son helped me pull his body out of the lake.
I'm sorry, sweetie.
But my kids were heroes that day. And they were true heroes.
Yep.
My kids were, all of them, true heroes that day. And anyways, that event allowed my kids to see light differently. So about a week later, that happened June 30th, my kids were removed from me on July 7th, 2017, from a friend's home. How bad I want to say these people's names right now. So prior to the kids being removed from my care and me being forced into being an offending parent with no charges, nothing on me, the CPS worker had been stalking my best friend's home for me and my kids. I mean, to the point where she would sit outside their house in her CPS van and she would watch for my vehicle. She also took my son's cell phone and put a bug in it and had a private investigator follow me around town for 2 weeks.
Yep.
Still to this day, I still have not gotten my son's phone back, in which I talk about later on. Anyways, so she removed the kids from me because she's seen my vehicle at my friend's home. Now, mind you, this CPS worker lived like 5 blocks away from my friend's home, my best friend's house, and she stalked it like every day once she knew I was going to my friend's home to, hang out and give my kids a break away from being out at the lake and just from after school, because I was working a full-time job. I didn't have help. Like, I wasn't allowed to be around my friends, my family, nothing, because CPS wouldn't allow it. So she came to the home. She removed all of my children from my physical custody. And once again, based on physical neglect, she removed my kids. She said that these people were unsafe people that my children did not need to be around. Now, mind you, my kids called these people auntie and uncle and have their entire lives. Like, they've grown up with these people. These people have never hurt my kids. They were helping me through everything with CPS, through working a full-time job, through living out at the lake and not having any type of support. I mean, they were truly and utterly the best friends I could have asked for during this time. And the reason they were unsafe to this CPS worker was because the person who rented the house had a possessions charge from when he was 18.
What the hell?
Not even, yes, it was a prior conviction like 7 years before she removed my children.
Wow.
When this guy was 18. So when she removed my kids, this guy was like 24 years old and like moving on in his life, had a good job, had his house, like, the hell. So, I mean, like, and he was living as a productive member of society, and he still is today, and he is still very much so a part of mine and my children's life. Fuck CPS. That's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
So she ended up, the same day that she removed my children, she ended up in a full-blown car accident with my children in the car that she caused. I have the report number, but Helena Police Department, Helena, Montana's Lewis and Clark County Police Department refuses to release the report to me, even though my children were the victims in that car accident.
Not surprised there.
Yeah, it was not good. Oh, my daughter just informed me that my oldest daughter almost broke her arm that day in that car accident that the police were, in fact, dispatched to. So, the following day, the children were forced to submit hair follicle drug testing, and CPS told the placement caregivers unused marijuana scale in this person's home. He said that he was using it to weigh flour and for baking, baking cakes and whatnot. Personally, I don't care what you do with a weed scale. It's weed. Get the hell over it. It's pot. It's not like it's, you know what I mean? About all that person's going to do is he's going to go and hit the refrigerator. That's what he's going to do. And then he's going to go to sleep. He's not going to do anything. And if somebody is that hard up for some weed, y'all need some addiction counseling. Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying, like, I used to smoke weed regularly. I did go to rehab. I did get cleaned. I've been clean 6 years and 9 months with some odd days. Can't even remember anymore. No has become my best friend. At the time and the date of removal, none of my kids were in any imminent danger. None of them were neglected. None of them were abused. None of them had any type of drugs in their system. None of them were being given drugs. So it baffled me that she was legally taking my children from me, and I did nothing. I literally did nothing. My kids did nothing. It was rather disgusting.
There you go. That works.
Anyways, she never did test that scale out, and she presumed it was for marijuana instead of getting it tested. I also submitted a urine analysis and a hair follicle test, and they all came back negative on all 4 of my children and myself. My oldest son, with the 2 cell phones, the CPS worker took them from him and put a tracking app on it so she could follow his whereabouts, and because he had been contacting me behind her back. My mom had offered to come from Texas all the way to Montana to pick up my children. She ended up was denied.
Your mom rocks.
My youngest daughter,
So your mom rocks.
Yeah, she does. My youngest daughter has never been involved with CPS. And prior to the removal, I had full custody of my youngest daughter as well. Nevaeh had, wasn't going to say any names, but y'all know my kids because I'm well known on Facebook. And because, I'm not ashamed of it. I just want to protect things. Yeah. Anywho, so the judge on my youngest daughter's case allowed the removal even though my child had never been neglected, never been abused, nothing. So she removed my youngest child, and based on a case that had nothing to do with her, nothing at all, which was completely illegal because I wasn't even the offending parent in the first case. I was the non-offending parent, and then I was forced into being an offending parent with no grounds, no charges, no abuse, no neglect, no nothing.
Sounds like a lot of other cases that we're working on right now.
Yeah. Sounds like many of the ones in Montana, huh?
Oh, yeah.
So I had been receiving SNAP and Medicaid benefits for my 4 kids who were in my care. CPS falsely reported to the Office of Public Assistance that the kids had not been in my care at all, and that I was to be penalized for falsifying falsifying information and even though I had proof that the kids were in my care, and still today have that proof. Because many of you know that I am filing a federal lawsuit against CPS We're fixing to get into some real juicy shit.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not gonna lie. It's juicy shit.
It's only getting started.
On top of her falsifying the fact that the kids were not in my home when they were, I was penalized by the OPA office for a year, and I was sanctioned and was not able to receive any type of SNAP for myself, SNAP for myself, and through Medicaid. So I had to deal with what I had, which was my employment, and then I ended up a year and a half into the CPS case. I was diagnosed with broken heart syndrome, which is also known as stress cardiomyopathy. And yeah, it gets fun. So there was, all 4 kids were repeatedly bounced around by the department with placements in numerous and different kinship, foster, and group home environments. Sorry, guys. I'm gonna smoke a cigarette because I'm a little worked up.
It's all good.
So I'm just gonna read what I have down instead of kind of like going from my own experience, because it's easier for me to read off the paper. During these times of my children being out of my home, and this was the removal in July 7th, 2017, and it continued on until August of 2018. So I'm just going to read what I have. All 4 kids were repeatedly bounced around by the department with placements in numerous different kinship placements, foster placements, and group home environments. I was only limited to 30-minute weekly phone calls, and at one point in time, I was only limited to 15 minutes and 15 minutes because I had 2 kids in the same group home, so they only allotted me 15 minutes per kid.
That's correct.
I've also included a list of the placements my children had been in because of human trafficking. And no, not sex trafficking, human trafficking for profit. So during this time, all 4 of my children were forced to undergo flu vaccines, which I had already expressed my feelings against and had denied the authorization of those flu vaccines on numerous occasions. I have everything email documented. I kept everything for 3 years in email documentation due to the fact that I knew shady things were happening inside my case. And I knew my rights as a parent, and I involved my lawyer on absolutely everything. I emailed that woman every day with new findings, new situation, just trying to keep everything completely legalized and on record. So during my youngest son's time at a group home, and I was never informed of where he was for the first 6 months. I did not know how to contact my son. I couldn't write him. I couldn't see him. I couldn't have phone calls with him. So I was completely alienated for the first 6 months with my youngest son. Then he was transferred to another group home where he began to cut his arms. He was allowed frequent visits with his father, a convicted child abuser. And yes, he is convicted. He does have he's got a lifetime on those charges. He ended up with 25 years on those charges. Yeah, it was pretty bad. it was a bad situation. But they were allowing his convicted child abusing father to see him, both on and off site of this facility. So his abuser was allowed to come and get him, take him from the facility, and have a hey-oh good time out on the town with him. And I was not even allowed a phone call, and I had never been like abusive, neglectful, nothing. And the kids even reported that, like, they didn't understand why their father was getting visits, but somebody who has never hurt them wasn't getting visits. So it baffled us. So anyways, after that, I was still restricted to only, shortly after I ended up with visits on site, but I couldn't leave off site with him. During those visits, my son had reported receiving butt darts of thorazine for behaving against staff wishes. And he had refused them, and they held him down and gave them to him anyways. His case manager at such and such place presented exasperated presence. She made my son's PTSD worse. Like, just the sight of her, the sound of his voice, everything. On multiple occasions, I had asked for a new case manager. They refused to give it to me. My son was not progressing. He was getting worse. I had seen my son bust through locked doors. I had seen him get put in restraints. I was told not to interact with my child who was being mentally and emotionally harmed by these people. I was told not to even interact with him. I couldn't talk to him. I didn't need to look through the glass at him while he was going through this. And on multiple occasions, my son and I both had expressed that I am his coping mechanism. Like, you need to allow me to deal with this because I'm going to get to him on a different level than what you are. You need to let me calm him down. At one point in time, the therapist refused to allow my son to, and I had never seen my son in such horrible state of mind to where he couldn't control himself. So it was just like really heartbreaking. But finally, when I was able to calm him down, because I went against their wishes, I did in fact calm my son down. He switched. He just, with the light, he seen mom and it was done. You know, and so I did help with that situation, but when he was, on multiple occasions, the same therapist would refuse my son phone calls with me. She would refuse him visits with me. She would use taking away visits as a punishment for him if he didn't calm down. Like, it was just straight abuse. I reported this multiple times again, and it just continued. My son started, when I started seeing my son, he started coming to me with bruises on his wrist where they had been trying to restrain him like this. And then I was told, well, it's normal because if they fight back, then we have to use our strength to hold them down and to restrain them. And I was like, hell no, keep your hands off my kid. Well, they didn't like that. I started reporting it to CPS. CPS wasn't doing anything about it. I reported it to the ombudsman. I reported it all over. I started fighting at legislation meetings because it was unbearable. Kids that were normal turned out to be traumatized. And it was absolutely one of the worst things I had ever seen in my life. So moving on, contact with my oldest daughter, there was none. When we did get visits, we had it for 3 weeks at a therapist office, and then the therapist took the visits away because my daughter didn't know how to handle her excitement
What?
She's seen me. Yeah. So she took away my visit for excitement. My daughter became very distant. They started alienating. They ended up alienating me from her. They ended up alienating me from her for a year. From from August 2018 to August 2017 to September 2018, I was completely alienated away from my oldest daughter, with no contact. I was allowed to give her letters, give her gifts, and whatnot, but I had to drop them off at the therapist office. I could not see her. I could not talk to her. I could not know her whereabouts or anything. And now, mind you, during this time, I had not shown any signs of instability besides being a mother to my kid. I constantly called CPS to find out, hey, where are my kids? Where can I send this? What can I take them? Can I go there? Can I do this? Am I allowed to have visits? Can I have phone calls? I questioned absolutely everything they did. Everything. Because I'm a mom, and being a parent is not easy. We go through our ups and downs. And people with multiple kids, we get multiple personalities. We get multiple individuals, so we get to deal with them all, each on their own little people, and being their own little people. And so, and every parent knows this, that with each child, you have a different way of handling them.
Yep.
If you have a child who has aggression issues, you're going to get on the level to where they understand you, but be the bigger, wiser, smarter, kinder parent. You know what I mean? And you're going to meet their needs at different levels. So I met my kids at different levels. Even at CPS, she didn't like it, but I'm going to continue being a good mom. So she took away our therapy because my daughter would get excited. So then I waited a year to see my daughter, have phone calls, everything with her. Come to my oldest son. My oldest son ended up incurring criminal charges. He was physically abused at a group home by 2 staff members in Boulder, Montana. He reported that the both staff members would pull his hair, jerk his arms, stomp on his feet, and feed him peanut butter and jelly sandwiches while other children had full meals. He as well as pulling him around by his shirt. He did incur criminal charges. He was forced to defend himself against a staff member in another group home.
I know,
Who
sweetie.
invaded his pelvic region with his hands while attempting to remove a notebook from my son. Then on another occasion, after that one, my son was forcefully removed from the state of Montana by CPS workers, and when he was placed in Provo Canyon, Utah.
I remember that. That was horrible.
Provo Canyon is also known as the Fortress of Death. It has been reported that this is the place where CPS sends kids who are a threat to them. My son was removed because he spoke out about the abuse that was happening to him via CPS and group homes, and CPS was not putting a stop to it. So he was removed. He was taken out of state. I was told that if I went to the airport to see my son, that I would incur criminal charges, federal criminal charges. So I wasn't even allowed to see my son. they removed him for invoking his freedom of speech and coming out about the abuse. While in Provo Canyon, he did really, really awesome, and I mean, they were really helpful with him, so it wasn't a bad situation. And he got a lot of, he was able to focus on just him. He had a really good experience. Shortly after he came back, my youngest daughter, many of you guys know this because I post it on my Facebook, and if you're a follower, you know this. My youngest daughter suffered a broken jaw on July 1st, 2018 while at a group home, and this broken jaw was in fact inflicted by a staff member in Butte, Montana. The CASA worker on my case was present at the scene. She was there. She did report this to CPS. I reported this to CPS.
I remember that.
But the day of the incident, the group home did not contact me at all, and I'm a parent who had her rights. My daughter was taken to St. James Hospital in Butte, where she had seven stitches put in the bottom of her chin, and x-rays performed. The x-ray did not show the break because my daughter, at the time, if you guys have ever met my daughter, she's little itty bitty, very, very, very petite. So when she was 9, she looked like she was like 6. So she was like super small, and she's got a really small face. And her face was so swollen you could barely see the corner of her ear looking at her straight on. So they did not notify me. But the break was not found that day. They did, in fact, say that she had a sprain in her jaw. So I was not informed of the incident until the next day by the CASA worker. The group home did not tell me. The CASA worker also informed me that she had also been kicked out of the hospital while the tests were performed, and also reported the incident to CPS and the CPS supervisor, along with the abuse hotline where they were supposed to look into it. We were denied our off-site visit for the following day, and on the following day is when I found the assault on my daughter to be true. I found it.
Do you have a picture of it?
Up on her.
Do you have the picture of it?
I do have. I have pictures. I have pictures. I have documentations. I've got the medical reports. I have surgical medical reports from a specialist where she had to see her jaw. I have pictures before and after the jaw break. Her mouth still, to this day, it's starting to finally shift as the surgeon said it would. It would shift to the side, and she will have to later on in life have it completely realigned and reattached to her face. The bone itself is sitting broken from up here on the inside of her jawline, so they can't even do surgery to remove it.
And she's a beautiful young lady. This is devastating what happened to her. She is so young.
Still to this day, she can't open her mouth wide. She can do it. She can eat. She can drink. She can do those things. She has a lot of trauma to her jaw. After seeing my daughter, I had demanded that the group home give her ice and Tylenol immediately. They wanted to deny her ice, even though they could clearly see that her jaw was the size of a boulder, like a bowling ball sitting inside her head. It was huge. I started crying because I was like, why wouldn't anybody tell me this had happened? CASA worker by myself, and I demanded another x-ray be done after the swelling went down. I was literally denied all medical assistance in the situation, saying that because I was not a medical professional, I could not request it, and that the CPS worker denied me any type of medical on my daughter and her broken jaw. And then it just kind of went from there. I called emailing the CPS worker demanding another x-ray to be performed, which she refused to authorize as I'm not a physician. It wasn't until 6 weeks later after we found out, afterwards, when my daughter was back into my house, that the break was revealed in another x-ray performed by St. Hospital. Dr. Andy, really great doctor. And the x-ray confirmed the presence of the broken jaw and that it had been healing for at least 6 weeks and was already healing. I followed up with the surgeon in Great Falls to validated the previous statement, and we were informed that Nevaeh would have lifelong consequences as well as needing surgery in life to realign her jaw. All 4 children also reported having psychotropic medications forced onto them, such as Seroquel, Visceral, Hydroxyzine, Clonidine, Latuda, Prozac, and Thorazine forced upon them during their time under the department's division. Throughout this entire time, I provided letters, drawing, clothing, blankets, candies, cards, toys, family photos for all of the children every week, and emails to their case managers, CPS, the CASA worker, lawyers. I contacted Sheila Hogan, Marty Vining, Laura McCullough. I contacted Jennifer Horoff about everything that was going on. I also contacted the ombudsmans. Nothing ever did come about any of the reports that were made against CPS and what they were doing to my kids. I was told that they did everything by the book. When I reported everything up on the ombudsman, it took them 2 years to send me a letter about the review. And it was not a thorough review, because had they done a thorough review, they would have found that CPS was in complete abuse of power and medical negligence, hindering and endangering the life of my children, and so forth. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. No one would give me any answers on why I was being alienated away from my kids and why they weren't home yet. While their father, a convicted child abuser, was allowed full contact. From March 2016 to January 2018, their father was incarcerated and took part in a 4 to 6 week pre-release program where he had minimal to no contact with his children. The CPS worker still placed the children in his care, beginning with my oldest daughter in April 2018, less than 4 months after he had been released from prison against everyone's wishes and well-being and best interest.
Yep.
In August 2018 September 2018, it started with my youngest daughter coming home from the group home to live with me on August 2nd. My youngest son was released into his father's care, a convicted child abuser, on August 10th, 2008. On August 17th, 2018, I received a phone call from the father to pick up my youngest son from his home in Butte immediately, because NR did not want to live with him. When I arrived, NR's face was red and cut from being slapped by his stepmother, who is their father's wife, with her rings on. She hit him so hard that it sliced his face open.
Oh my God.
And She did this because he did not want to help her clean. I reported the incident to CPS worker and CASA and my lawyer. My oldest son was released to my care on August 27th, and on September 12th, I received a call from the CPS worker to pick up AR from Butte Middle School, as her father had not been providing care for her and left her for several days with his wife. I went and brought her home after being alienated from her for 14 months. In December 2018, my husband and I applied for SNAP benefits, and this was 3 to 4 months after the kids were in our home. I had applied for SNAP benefits, all 4 of the children. We were informed by the intake specialist that from August to December 2018, there had been $1,500 a month of benefits being obtained by the CPS worker and foster care placements for Nevaeh, my youngest daughter, and they were going to someone, but they could not locate it. I reported this to Miss Osterman, her supervisor, my lawyer, the CASA worker, as my youngest daughter had been in my home during those months and not in the state's care. So where was the money going and who was receiving it? It wasn't Medicaid, or was it Medicaid and SNAP fraud? 1 week later, finally, after 3 years of battle, the CPS worker who did all of this to my children and had been reported multiple times was finally removed from our case and was replaced with another CPS worker who closed my case within the first 30 days of seeing the children and seeing them in my home, and how clean my home was and how stable I was and
you're a clean freak.
And then in February 2019, on February 14th, Valentine's Day, I was awarded full custody of all 4 of my children.
Hurrah.
And these court orders are to supersede any and all existing court orders. Upon this is a list of placements that my children had been in, each in a 1 year's time frame. This has been legally validated and notarized as an affidavit against the state of Montana. So, since all of that, sometimes it's so hard to talk about some of the gruesomeness of some of what has happened, because me being able to tell somebody about it and the memories that I have with it are completely different than how people perceive it, because to them they're like, oh yeah, it happens and these are the steps you must take. But no, this is state terror. This is unlawful, illegal.
It's unconstitutional.
A child God. It is illegal to charge somebody for enforcing their freedom of speech. It is illegal to alienate parents who have not done anything. Now, again, I was forced to be an offending parent with no charges, no abuse, no neglect, no imminent danger, no drugs, no nothing.
You're an awesome mom.
I was forced into that. The 3 older children, they were removed from their father's care. And then when the state gave them back to me, this is all what happened. And then, it doesn't sound like it's much to maybe an outsider who's never been through this stuff.
Yep.
But to families who have been through it, it is traumatizing. It is horrific. It is enslavement. It causes PTSD. Still today, out of my kids, I hear about some of the traumatic things they went through in the group homes and show me the way that group homes restrain the kids inside the group home facility. And they come up behind them, and they, like, crisscross their arms like this underneath them, and then they, like, grip a hold of them and hold them as tight as they can.
Like this, and then they hold them and
then there's some of them that will come up underneath and hold their wrists underneath them and bend you over like this and drop you to the floor to where you can't fight back. And they were doing this like almost daily to the kids. I have multiple reports because I requested them from the group home. My youngest son had his pinky broke in a door by a staff member. And then...
I went to the hospital.
Huh?
I went to the hospital and it was dislocated.
He went to the hospital and it was dislocated?
Yeah. And then when I went there because they were going to put the wrap on, and then like it got back in place, I'm like, oh!
I hear, even still today, the kids have been in my home for almost a year. Oh, wait, hold on. Almost a year and a half now, and even still today, I hear horrific stories. The kids are really, they're back on routine, they're back on schedule, they're where they need to be, they're excelling amazing in school. They've joined sports, they go to church regularly, like they're fully involved, they're happy. We don't have any type of outburst. They're allowed to have supervised contact with their father via FaceTime or via letter, via text message. I monitor everything just because of his history of abuse.
Yeah.
And so I protect my kids that way. And it's been really good because he hasn't even tried to see the kids. Oh, honey, don't do that.
Door?
He doesn't call them. He doesn't do anything for them. Let's be real. He don't.
And yet, that's just what the CPS wanted to keep the children with, and they're to it.
Actually, I have it documented that the CPS worker told me face-to-face with my mother there that it was never her intentions to give me the kids. It was always her intentions to reunify with their abuser.
Yep, I remember that. I was there.
Yep. And then when you go in for family engagement meetings, or what they call it in Montana, FEM meetings, family engagement meetings, they get everybody together, and they all talk shit about the kids and about the progress they're making and about the parents at hand. Even if you give them, like, everything that you've done, that you're doing, that you're compliant, they still, like, trample all over your rights in Montana, and it needs to be put to a stop. So, yeah, since the kids have been home, let's see, August, September, October, November, December, that's 4 months, almost a year and a half. So, they've done all these good things. They've changed the lot. We still have battles. They're kids. They're normal teenagers going through puberty, going through, adjusting to being with each other. They're still, and it's going to take some time, and there's a lot of yelling matches. I'm not going to lie. A lot of yelling matches with teenagers. Okay, because I got 4 teens, and we've got hormones, we've got school, we've got peer pressure, we've got home life, we've got sports, we've got body changes. So kids are
kids.
They're living the normal life, I guess. guess is the best way I should say it.
Yeah.
And they're happy now, and they're stable, and they're spoiled rotten. Mm-hmm. Don't lie. Don't you sit over there cleaning your ears, lying. Literally, you know, like, a lot of times, I can't get it right away, but if they ask for it, they get it. But within reason, they don't just get things. They have to earn it. They still get disciplined. Well, I guess you won't do the behavior to get disciplined. You should remember your place as a little boy. I do remember my place. This is what I go through.
I can't wait to see you guys again.
I'm live. And like the whole world is seeing you right now. The whole world?
Yeah. Hi. Hi, sweetie.
That's Strassi. On her end, there's like a whole world.
Yeah, what? How does that even work? There's only 2 freaking bases, or 3. 1, 2, 3.
It'll get shared, honey. Afterwards, when we share this, we're going to share it everywhere. I got 50 groups I'm a part of.
That's fun. She got what?
50 groups.
Oh, yeah. I go nonstop. I don't fear nobody. We're done.
I try really hard not to cry when I tell my story, but there is some of it that is like, who could do this? Who could do this to a family? Who could do this to a child? Like, what is wrong with people?
I know.
I don't get it. I don't.
Right? I agree, Terry. Hold on. Terry just said, hold on, Amber. Terry just said, I would rather CPS get criminal charges against each and every one of them that have been a part of it.
Yeah, there's a long, long line.
Oh, yeah.
Step back. He's over here cleaning his ears going, oh yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, we got my comedian, and then, no, you're not going to the park. It is dark outside? Absolutely not. I don't think so. The only park you're going to is watching your Game Boy. I mean, playing on your Xbox. That's the only park. No, we don't go out after dark. Did you know that after dark is
Yep.
idle time?
Shannon, I agree.
The devil's playground. I love that. Did you know that? That's why we don't let you out. That's why we don't let you outside after
Hey,
dark.
Amber. Shelly said that your son's just too cute.
He's my funny guy.
Hi, honey bunny.
Sorry. We're in the middle of moving back to Montana.
Woo!
So my walls are
I am
bare
so excited.
everything is, yeah.
Have family back
We're all
together.
happy.
And the family back together.
And John's a little upset, but the rest of us are ecstatic. Yeah.
I can't wait to see
No,
you.
you're not. That is my soul.
Hey, Terry. Terry's watching also. Lindsay's mother is watching.
Kobe. Oh! You are not Kobe. Right. I'm Michael Jackson. No way. Please go play your Xbox or something. Thank you, son.
I mean, come on, people, look at her. Does she look like she's an abusive person, even the slightest, and why they keep the children away from her? It makes no sense.
Hey, listen. Listen, don't let my looks fool you, because I got a loud mouth. Mm-hmm.
This girl is more fierce than I am. She taught me to become who I am because she helped rebuild me. And I thank you with every beat of my heart, Amber. You're an angel to me.
You're so welcome. You don't have to thank me for... Pay it forward. Just...
That's what I'm doing.
Pay it forward.
That's what I'm doing.
If I've helped anybody in any way, pay it forward. Pay it forward. No, I don't want your money. I mean, here, I'll take it. I'll take it for your rent. You don't know. You don't know nothing.
So basically what this all comes down to is the fact that we're standing up for our children's rights. Enough of the abuse, enough of the slavery, enough of the lies. This is not the way the world should be. We are not here to torture children. We're here to raise them. And you wonder why there's so many people that are homeless? You wonder why so many people that grow up to become criminals or get the wrong kind of perspective is because they're taught that way. Look at the military. Military, yes, they voluntarily do this, but when they're in the military, they get trained. That's the same thing they're doing to our children, because they're taking from us when they're young and have not much knowledge of what is happening.
Honestly, let's be real. CPS is modern day Hitlers.
Yes.
That's what it is. They are state terrors. To the point where even cops had said, we don't mess with CPS. Oh, well, why not? You're the law.
Hold on. This gets better.
Why
Police, we asked them, 2 police officers, said it word for word in our presence in my home and at the sheriff's station. If they are ordered, if CPS has an open case, they are ordered to stay out of it. The low-income lawyers, we have that on recording as well. They stated that they are ordered to stay out of open CPS cases. The DOJ won't do shit. The Supreme Court was surprised when we talked to them face-to-face, and they said file report in Supreme Court. We have one family who's done that. Yeah.
I was a super fortunate woman during my CPS case because I had a badass lawyer, and she was state appointed. She never left my side. She fought for my rights. She fought for my state, my federal, and my parental rights. The CASA worker as well, I owe so much to her. She oversaw this, and she was on it like white on rice. Like, she held them fully accountable. They called CPS out under oath in the courtroom. I mean, for everything that they did in my case, down to breaking my daughter's jaw. Like, everybody was fully held accountable by my lawyer, the kids' lawyer, and the CASA worker. So I really did make out. And unfortunately, there's a lot of families that don't.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a loud voice and you allow them to walk all over you, you are going to end up another victim.
Yep.
And I mean, I hate to say this, there is a way to win. There really is. Not only do you comply with what they want of you, but you also hold them fully accountable to their own laws.
Quick question. Terry is asking, what is a General Assembly period?
I guess I would need to know what that means in context, like what context is it being used in? Because if I'm hearing it right through CPS, a General Assembly context, is this toward a criminal charge or is this toward a removal? Because I kind of need to know which area I'm looking. Because I mean, it could be taken in a lot of different ways. So if I hear it on a CPS end, I'm thinking General Assembly. What was that?
General Assembly period.
Period. This is a time period where they have to collect any type, and usually CPS gets 15 months once a child has entered into their department under, supervision or whatever CPS wants to call it. Usually this is a time period of where they can try to find what they call facts, but what we as human beings, we call it
bullshit.
We call it hearsay, we call it falsified,
lies.
We call it unlawful, we call it illegal, but what they're trying to do is find a legal way to collect any and all data against any type of family. It could be 6 months, or usually when they start with a 90-day voluntary thing, where you sign a piece of paper saying you're going to get services for 90 days. During that 90 days, if you do not comply with what CPS wants, then they try to remove the child. But if you keep full records of everything that you've done, then it looks better on you as a provider or a parent. But after that grace period, for up to 15 months, they can keep the kids out of the home with their evidence that
what
they
evidence?
Have on you.
Yeah, we got no evidence.
Yeah, right? What evidence?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think the CPS should really have to break it down piece by piece of what exactly is neglect, what exactly is physical abuse, what exactly is endangerment. You know what I mean? I think that there needs to be a wide variety of explanations on each one. Because if I say, okay, well, today I didn't make my son take a shower, even though he was covered in mud, we were having a good time, but he'll take one in the morning, there you go. I neglected my son for a damn night. You know what I mean? Like,
Shelly has a question.
I didn't make him take a shower.
Shelly has a question.
Yeah.
My sister didn't even know they took her right from her. She just found out, and it happened in July. What can she do?
Shelly, what state are you in?
Give me just a second. Punishment for treason is death. They are all treasonous. If found guilty, then they face consequences. Yeah, I get that. I'm waiting for...
If Shelly is in Montana...
No, she's not in Montana.
And they did not...
She's not in Montana. I can tell you that much. I'm not sure what state she's in, but she's not in Montana.
Okay, so I know a lot more about Texas, and because I've done research on Texas since I've been here, my little brother was involved.
Kentucky.
They're getting their kids back, so I worked a lot on his case, and they were trying to get him for human trafficking and all kinds of stuff in his CPS paperwork,
wow.
And I was like, what? What the hell, you know? And so like, I called him out, and now my brother gets visits. So
Shelly is in Kentucky.
I got him on there. She's in Kentucky. So southern states, they have a different one. Let's see. She said that the children were removed, the children were removed. They
Here, I'll read it to you
took
again.
away
I'll read it to you.
parental rights.
My sister didn't even know they took her rights from her, and she just found out, and it happened in July. What can she do? State to go jury trial?
Hold on. If they filed for a TPR does not mean termination of parental rights. That means that if you don't comply with them, then they have the right to terminate based upon what you did not comply with. So if it's a TPR, it's completely different. But if they actually relinquished her rights and she has no rights to that child in question, she needs to file under a federal Supreme Court ruling, because the only way to overturn a CPS, a family court CPS decision is through a Supreme Court. A Supreme Court is the only one that can overturn any judge's ruling. Period.
Push hard.
And that is coming from a lawyer. And I was told this by my lawyer.
Right,
exactly.
Shannon goes, they have absolutely no justification.
Huh?
They have absolutely no justification, period. That's what Shannon said.
Okay. Yeah, the only way to overturn that decision is by filing in a Supreme Court. Because a state judge cannot overturn a state judge. Like, they can't. It has to be somebody higher up than the state. So it has to be federally district or Supreme. The Supreme Court will issue a district judge, but it will be on a federal level. So it has to be a Supreme Court judge to overrule that.
Yeah. Do you folks want to know how to beat them in their courts? Sure. What's up, Shannon?
It's all kangaroo courts anyways. That's all it is. People need to arm themselves.
Yep.
I love you, Mommy.
I love you too. There's Amber.
Hi, Amber.
Hi, Diva.
My cousin's staying.
We're not going to We're not going to bring her into it. No. We're not going to back up. We're not. You guys, go play. Go play. We'll be done shortly, okay?
Oh, here comes Nani. Hi, Diva. She wants to say
Ziva.
hi.
Ziva, come here. Z, hurry up. Nevaeh's saying hi. Hurry. Slowpoke.
Hi, Nevaeh.
Hi, Diva.
All right, we'll talk to her. You can talk to her later, okay? Let's finish our thing. This is a bit of a more of a thing. All right, go play. We'll be done shortly, okay?
Nevaeh's
Go. Yes,
Nevaeh's a hot mess right now because she has been
Listen
sick
to me
for
and go.
over a week. She had an ovarian cyst that bursted on her, and
Oh my gosh.
the inflammation traveled into her stomach, and she hasn't been able to eat for a week. She's been running low-grade fevers, and they put her on some Prilosec. It's starting to work. She's starting to get a little spunky again. But she's
Is what
been
I did
sleeping
helping?
a lot.
Is what are you doing the thing that I suggested? Is it helping any?
We tried several at-home remedies, and it was making it really bad. Oh, she's got John shoes. No. Oh. we have a 3-month-old puppy, and she is a terror right now. But the Prilosec is starting to work. She's been on all-clear diet for right now. And then Noah got some type of stomach bug. And then he was down for a few days, but now he's doing better. We've been using the vinegar stuff for him, vinegar and garlic on him, and it's been working real good.
Awesome.
I've been taking shots of vinegar every day. I've been doing my diet for my heart failure and whatnot. So, I mean, I'm feeling better.
Yay! Shannon
Got a
said,
lot of energy.
first of all, buy the name that is in all caps from the Secretary of State. Make someone you trust the owner of name, and it is called a trade name. Trade name owner can threaten and sue their asses. Because your name, you look at the legal papers, it's all in capital.
No, try to stay out of my stuff. I'm gonna go cook some chicken Alfredo for dinner.
All right, honey. Thank you. Love you, and I will talk at you later.
Sure. Love you guys. See you soon.
Yep.
Bye. Thanks for watching, everybody.
Bye, sweetie. Love you. Bye.
Bye.
So, with that all said and done, you can understand and see why we stand up and fight for our families and our children's rights. Yep, we are holding them liable because there's multiple federal lawsuits that are going to be filed very soon. And they'll all be done about the same time. Yep. So, yeah, but we're getting together as well. And going to be doing the same thing because we're done playing the game. You know, my oldest son, yeah, I'm not going to go into much detail because you watch my Facebook, so you can watch it and you see what's going on. But that's aside. I now get to suffer not being with him because of nobody listening or standing up to fight for my family. So, thank the Lord, he saved me, brought me back stronger, and Amber. And I learned from so much of what I've seen and what I've heard and of what I've witnessed. Right now, 2 main cases that I'm working on to help out with, I'm advocating for. Hi, Amber. Sammy's young child, newborn, was taken May 28th at the birth this year. No cause. She did nothing wrong, and they said that she was abusive and neglectful. The child was just born. The only one that was doing the abuse and the neglect stuff was the hospital and the CPS intentionally keeping the child away from her. So, explain to me how she's abusing a child. She's a wonderful lady, and she wants nothing but to be with her children. All 4 of them were taken at different times after they were born. 2 of them at birth. No reason, no just cause, just hearsay and lies. The other one is Lindsay. Yes, Lindsay. She is in jail right now after a warrant that was dismissed on Thursday this week. I was there and Ray Newmeyer was there. We both heard the judge and the CPS worker state that the warrant was dropped. But yet the next morning at 2:01 in the morning, she was arrested at a friend's house because the warrant was not dropped. I called the police station and asked them why she was arrested when I was physically there and saw that the warrant was dropped. But yet they were smart mouths on me on the phone. And it's like, again, they were laughing when I was questioning them on why she was arrested. They would not give me a straight answer. So tomorrow I'm going to be heading back to the courthouse and getting the courthouse to reprimand what they did wrong and have the judge validate that she shouldn't have been arrested in the first place. She's following their orders. It's pathetic what they've become, what they've done to our kids. I'm beside myself. So yeah, we are growing and we are not going to stop. And yes, we have started a actual, where is it? There it is. We have started a board. We are now a legal board to head on with them. Look us up on Facebook. The State of Montana State Council on Judicial Accountability Incorporated. We are done playing. You know, people said in the beginning, telling me to, just do what they say and everything will be fine and dandy and move on. I'm sorry. I refuse to stop allowing the CPS, the hospitals, the police that do not want to do the job right, the judges, the fake judges that say they're doing what's right for the children. If they are, they would listen to the children. We have emailed Bullock. I have emailed hundreds and hundreds of people. Not one person has got back to me except for Daines. And Senator Daines, I know he can't negotiate with them. But the thing is Senator Daines, 2 of his people called back, and both times I was at Amber's house. She is eyewitness to both times that those people called back. Yes, they need to be stopped. The first gentleman, it was summertime, beginning of summer, a year and a half ago. So 2018-ish. And the gentleman said that he was interested and wanted to help out. Never heard back from him. Yet 3 months later, we got a call back from a lady for Senator Daines. And at the end of the same story we told the other gentleman, she had the nerve to say, well, what do you want me to do about it? There's nothing I can do. And that was the end of the conversation. I was like, why are you guys in the position in the government to do something and be the guidance and the leaders for our states and our government and stuff if you're not going to do the right thing? So, you know, we need people to join us and to be a part of this. Because if we don't stand up, we're going to turn out just like Hunger Games. If you watch the movie, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. It's playing out like a control. It's like, it was like a pre-warning of what's going to happen if we don't stand up for ourselves. Yes, I see you, Shannon. We're going to be doing, what was that? I try to tell you, they are all criminal. Yes, they are. National Americans have the end this, but you believe the system will stop police themselves and autocorrect. No, I don't believe they're going to do much of anything unless we stand up to them. So that is what we're doing. And as we go, we will keep people informed of what's happening. And it's one day at a time, you know? We've got to keep on praying and listening. Yes. Yes, we did. We told them in the court, the very first meeting with Sammy's case, the very first meeting, we were sitting in a room with her fake attorney that was, oh my God, he went off on me like a child in high school was being bullied. It was ridiculous. But we sat in a room with like 12, 14 people, and the only 2 that were trying to save Sammy's case and stand up for her was me and her. We called them out. We said, you are breaking the constitutional laws and the rights of this family and the children. And the CPS worker had enough audacity to look us in the face and said, the Constitution has no valid in this case. And we can validate it and prove it with without nothing. We can freaking proof of it, everything. We made sure that we can validate everything that we say and do. So, yeah, it's going to be coming back around really soon. So, keep fighting, keep your head strong, and do not fear the ones. That's why they keep on winning. It's because people are caught off guard and they have no idea what they're doing, while the other ones have had training. Like they have no emotions. They have no heart. If they did, they would listen. So, keep your head up, and we will stick with you guys and let you guys know what's going on as this plays out. Thank you. Merry Christmas. And yes, it is very sad for so many because they're not having a very Merry Christmas because their life has been stolen from them. Without cause, without nothing but selfishness, greed, and money. That's what it's all about. This needs to stop. This is not how America should work. This is going on around the entire world. I've got hundreds of friends overseas as well. You know? And the same crap is happening over there, even worse in some areas. It's beyond pathetic. It's not right. This is not how United States should be. I'm sorry. We're not united. We are called divided States of America until we stand together and unite again. So, my heart goes to you, that the ones that are still fighting for their children or with their children trying to bring them back to unity with the family. So, keep your head up. Don't ever stop. And keep praying. Because seriously, if I did not believe and give my soul to Jesus, I don't know where I'd be right now. If you guys have been paying attention in the past years of how far I fell, like knocking on death's door of how bad I was, because everything that my family's gone through is more than just CPS and the judges and whatnot. I finally gave my Lord, my soul and everything direction to Jesus Christ. And since that day, he has rebuilt me. He has brought me stronger. He helped me lose 130 pounds plus. And I feel like a warrior. I feel like a strong person that will not bow down to no one again. I am done being a little puppet. I'm done. You know, everyone should be. So, Merry Christmas to everyone and prayers to all. Yes, faith works. Yep. Alright, take care, you guys. Merry Christmas. Bye.